I have been beamed down to Earth another time from the moon. I am from Moon Mars Media, or Moon Mars TV. We've had a station on the moon for many thousands of years, and I just happened to be stationed there for a while. And they decided to beam me down to Earth to try and explain certain things that there's a lot of confusion about on planet Earth. Humans seem to be a very confused race of people, a very confused species. In fact, now they're being voted the funniest species in the galaxy. It's something now everyone's tuning into planet Earth. It's a comedy, which is a very good comedy actually. It's very funny. Anyway, because it doesn't recognise itself as one species, it's all divided up in like insect colonies or something like that. So it makes it very funny. But I want to talk about the drought in Australia. It's a land, as you know, continent in the southern part of the world. And the thing about the drought in Australia, it's been going for 5,000 years. And suddenly, all of a sudden, I think I'm breaking off a bit, all of a sudden, now they're blaming something, what's been going for 5,000 years, on humans. It's been going, and we know it's been going for 5,000 years, because before then, the place was wetter, and much of the planet was wetter. But the reason it's the reason it's getting drier, and it's going to continue to get drier. The drought is only just began, Australia, in a way, because it's got many centuries, hundreds and thousands of years to go. But it's like this. As the Antarctic drifted away from Australia, the further away it got, the more cold the seas, the more wider the sea is, that is cooler. Like when it was a long time ago, many millions of years ago, or not that much longer, a few thousand years ago, 100,000 years ago, when it was closer, there was more tropical in the centre of Australia because the ocean was warmer. Because it must have had a different sort of oceanic effect from the west or the east. But the fact, and it had big lakes in the middle of it, which kept its own. It had its own humidity, its own state of precipitation created by the lakes within it. But they dried up as the Antarctic moved further away, and as the Antarctic got more and more ice upon it, and built a greater and greater mass of ice, it has a greater and greater influence on the climate of Australia. Antarctica is the greatest effect of the climate of Australia, and people don't quite realise it. It's a mystery to them for some reason. They blame China or CO2 and industrial age and stuff like that, but there wasn't no industrial age that we know of 5,000 years ago to any great extent. But as the ice has built up on the Antarctic, it's got two kilometres of ice, and it's got further away. It's gone about as far away as it's going to get, obviously. I don't know, it's not drifting, Australia's drifting further. But the amount of sea there is cool water because of the Antarctic. And the more ice on the Antarctic, the cooler that sea gets, the more the drought gets in Australia. And that's really a very simple explanation of why there is this long drought in Australia for 5,000 years. Yes, you get the intermittent heavy showers, intermittent floods everywhere. That happens everywhere because the weather is a great variable. But there's one pattern. It's a singular pattern over thousands of years, and we know that for certain. And it's going to continue. So when Australia says it's going to stop the drought by stop burning coal and things like that. Well, that's why these things now that we see people saying we're going to stop the drought by stop burning coal, and that is what people laugh at in all over the galaxies now, all over the different planets. There's thousands of them, there's millions of them actually, and sometimes they show it in Star Wars and stuff like that, all the different people and beings in the places. Well, it's a bit like that. It's a little bit like that. There's a variety of if you what you've got on Earth in the oceans and the animals, there's a sort of similar thing everywhere. In speciation, it's different. Life it depends on the quality of the environment, the size of the planet, and all those things that will create the sort of variable evolutionary trends that you end up meet as you pass through the galaxies. But I'm in this form because it's easy to be in this when you're making these videos for Earthlings. But there you go. That's a very simple explanation of why there's drought in Australia. It's because of the Antarctic effect. The wider the sea is, the cooler, the bigger the ice on the Antarctic, the wider the sea has become, the more Australia's become dry, and that's become dry. It's been going dry for thousands of years, but we know it's gone dry. For at least 5,000 years it's been in a drought. On and off. Of course, you get the occasional good moments where people get a delusion that you can grow wheat or anything anywhere, but then bang, the drought will continue as it always has done. The variable is this sort of El Nino effect will move moisture across from the Pacific and the Indian and move the sort of the precipitation cycle around a little bit. And that is the difference between the wet times and the dry times is La Nina, whatever it's called, and the sun, a little bit of solar differences. Most of it is down to Antarctica being larger, more ice on it. That's why it's carving more ice, because there's more ice on it, and that's why the oceans are cooler, and they will be forever and ever and ever, because the Antarctic is not going to melt like they say, because it's impossible for that to happen unless we get it struck by a meteorite, or unless Earth gets struck by a meteorite, or it can't happen because it's just the air is not going to get above 0 degrees in the Antarctic in winter, and it's not going to have a catastrophic melt in the 6 months there's light there, because the sun just skims across the surface. The sun doesn't hit the Antarctic directly, and people in Australia aren't seen to where the sun is in the sky, and it skims across the surface of Antarctica, and that's why it's not very hot there. In the tropics, the sun's directly overhead, more or less, and that's why it's hot there. Simple as that, really. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that, explain it simply, because humans are getting very confused about some things that are not difficult to understand. So I thought I'd explain it in as simple terms as possible. My name's Samat Nodgad Mahag, and I'm on Moonbase 1, and this is Moon Mars TV, Moon Mars Media, and we'll be making these broadcasts occasionally, getting beamed down and broadcasting these things about things on Earth that humans seem to be extremely confused about at this moment in time. They even think there's a small girl we've noticed called Greta Thunberg who made a speech like a man called Adolf Hitler, who said, "How dare you, how dare you," and that's what he said to his generals who refused to retreat, who wanted to retreat from Russia, starting in all massacred and slaughtered by the Russians, and he had them shot for daring to retreat. And that young lady, boy lady, we're not sure what she is. We cannot examine her close enough. Vegan mutant, actually. And she said that there's a, "How dare you?" And it was it gave shivers to watch a very tiny version of a man called Adolf Hitler being promoted as a new leader of the world. Because it's a shame, really, she hadn't said, "How dare you spend so much money on tackling climate change when you should be spending more money on the homeless and poor." That's what she should have said. "How dare you have so many homeless when you're complaining about the climate? What about the poor people who are outside?" And the people living indoors aren't going to be worried about the climate. It's the people on the street, surely, that are affected most by the climate. But no one mentioned those. Sad, really.